Hey, it's Jess here, and it's currently 10 to 12, so almost midnight, but I really want to get these thoughts out and talk about this topic because I think it is very important. And yeah, I didn't put on any makeup. I returned from work not too long ago, so yeah. Anyway, I was gonna brush this off as it's just Japan thing, but actually I can't. So I don't know if you've seen it in the news or on the internet, but recently in Osaka, I believe, a host club opened. A Nazi host club opened. So a bar where women can go and get drinks served by pretty boys, which is usually not a problem, but the boys are wearing Nazi uniforms. I mean, they're a bit altered, they're purple and in different colors, but that doesn't make it any better. They're Nazi uniforms. It's literally a Nazi host club. This video has an educational purpose only. I don't intend to insult anyone, but I feel people need to know what this actually means to the rest of the world outside of Japan. I'm living in Japan, and Japan has played a big part of my whole life. I have Japanese friends, worked with Japanese of all age groups, and I consider Japan my home. As the kind lady who stopped me a few weeks ago while I was wearing yukata to inform me that the way I folded the yukata was actually wrong and is the way that people wear kimono or kimono for funerals, I want to teach you what it means as a German and how hurtful this is. The name of the bar is Unfair, and the tagline is "Life is a bet." Sounds pretty okay in every other context than that. You find Nazi symbols on bottles, glasses, and decorations and uniforms all around the store. And one of the slogans used was "Get intoxicated with this new style of host club." Well, there is only one thing to call this, and that's disgusting. 75 million people died during the Second World War. Germany currently has a population of 83 million. Can you imagine? That's almost everybody in Germany. Around 6 million of those who died were Jewish and brutally murdered in horrific, unimaginable ways. And one way was toxic gas. We all are familiar with this. So using this kind of wording is disgusting. There are still survivors of that era, and our lives have been influenced by this too. Even now, it is very recent. It's less than 100 years ago. That's nothing in the human history. As a German, this was taught for many years in high school. We learn almost everything about World War II. And nothing is I feel like nothing is really kept out. It's really, for me, these lessons were actually sometimes really, really tough. And I remember crying at some videos we've seen because I just felt horrible seeing real footage, even if it was just black and white, for people who have just been shot on the street for just the way they were born. My great-grandfather was part of the Hitler Youth, which was a camp program for young German adults or teenagers. It was part of the propaganda. Everything seemed great. They were playing, they got trained. They got fed this idea and illusion of war and what's happening outside the world. Great-grandfather used to be, when he was 18, he was 180 centimeters tall, light blonde hair, blue eyes, the perfect aria. So obviously he was a target, and he was sent to the front lines and shot. They were not prepared. They showed these young people illusions of what war is like. And they just fed them to the bullets. This is what happened. I remember as a child him telling us the stories, and the biggest highlight was when he lifted his shirt and showed us the part where he got shot. It was almost like he was proud of it. I think he's genuinely happy that he survived. But now I realized it was trauma and overcompensation, and I don't remember my great-grandfather ever not having a bottle of beer in his hand. He was an alcoholic. He didn't know how to deal with PTSD. I mean, even nowadays, veterans are just left on their own. So can you imagine after the World War II? My great-grandfather died like 20 years ago. He fell asleep and never woke up, so that was peaceful at last. My great-grandmother, his wife, she saw a neighbor getting crushed by the ceilings of the bunker they were seeking shelter at. The bunker, the safe place during a bombing, just collapsed. She also suffered from PTSD and a lot of trauma. This is influencing all of us, because if you grow up with parents that are suffering and dealing with trauma, the way you're brought up is different than of parents who don't have to deal with these things. And this is passed on to each generation a little bit. Somehow it's affecting us. I was raised by my grandparents. I love my grandfather, who I call father because he raised me as his child. I love him to bits. But I do see that the way he was brought up, and especially having a father who would constantly consume alcohol, has affected him as well. I also don't remember my father without a day without a beer bottle. He's not getting heavily drunk or passing out, but he's drinking beer every day. That's what I mean. It's affecting all of us. German, I feel shameful for what happened during that time, even though it was long before I was born. But we remember, and we have to remember. Japan was part of this as well. Japan was an ally of Germany, and Germany committed a lot of terrible, terrible war crimes, terrible, terrible things. But so did Japan. It is rumored that Japan has killed around 6 million people during the Second World War, which is around 8%, which makes about 10%. And most of them were from China, Korea, and other surrounding countries. That's terrible. And maybe you also have a great-grandparents, grandparents, or someone who was also part of that era, part of that time, part of that war. Maybe not as a soldier, but maybe as a witness of some terrible, terrible things that happened, or just the fear of not knowing if you fall asleep that a bomb might destroy your house. So now tell me a Nazi cafe is a good idea and no one saw this coming. There's a lack of education, and that has to be filled. It has to. While I was working in a high school in Germany, I've worked with refugee children from Syria. And we all know about the Syrian war, or at least I hope you do. Seeing children of the age of 10, 11, 12 years old, what they've been through, the trauma they've dealt with and they're dealing with, it's insane. Whenever they hear an alert, the first thing they do is find the most stable point in a building, which is the door frame, in case a bomb crosses into your house. Did you know that with 11 years old? No. War is still happening every single day. And even though all these things have happened in the past, it's still continuing. There is genocide going on right now in China, where Uyghur people are being not killed, not directly killed, but there are kind of concentration camps where they collect them, force them not to speak their native language. Their homes and houses have been taken away, and women are forced to have an IUD implanted to not get pregnant, to not reproduce. That's disgusting. It is important to talk about these things. And again, this is not a video about pointing fingers. It's a video to show you how impactful your actions and your words are. And making a symbol of horrible, like a symbol of something so gruesome that has happened in the past, into like a purple uniform with pretty boys serving girls drinks, and not seeing that it could be a problem, is actually terrible. That means the education system has failed you and failed all of us. I know this might sound very dramatic, but I think it is a really, 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 really important topic to discuss. Things have happened in the past, and the only way to improve and to learn is from reflecting and teaching and finding new ways to deal with topics, to deal with whatever happens in life. But yeah. So please take this opportunity to learn and become more mindful, because I truly believe if we learn together, if you educate each other, and that's why I'm not doing a hate video or like oh, of course Japan. No, this is not what it's about. It's about sharing our experience and our knowledge to make the world a better place. Yeah, I have to admit, the first time I heard about it, I was kind of like, really? The first thing I did was like a little smile and like a little chuckle, because it was so unbelievable. Like, it's the matter of like, nobody saw this coming. Nobody thought this is a bad idea. And isn't it crazy that a lot of people didn't think it was a crazy idea? I mean, to open a business, you have to provide a business plan. I opened a business. We had to provide a business plan. We had to describe what our business is going to be like. So it hasn't only failed in one part. It failed in a lot of parts of the process. So yeah, Nazi host club, bad idea.